What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in a building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How is everybody doing this weekend? We are back with another episode. I know it's been a crazy week. Sorry about last week. I had an emergency, so there was no show last week. Obviously, you guys can tell. So we're back this week. Going to be talking about a lot of stuff. We do have an awesome guest with us. I will get to that in a second. I want to shout out everybody who's been supporting the channel. We are clearly over 1,200 subscribers, so that was a big milestone for us here on the show. So that's huge news. We've actually gone, we're at like 1,220 or somewhere around that. So appreciate you guys checking out the channel. If you enjoyed the content, hit the like button right now. Show some love here on the Shop Podcast. You guys always are showing out. It's been a huge year for us, so thank you for the support. We're going to continue to bring you guys great shows every single Saturday. So we appreciate you guys so much. So let's go ahead and just talk to the panel here, figure out what's going on with everybody. I know it's crazy times right now. Everybody's, pretty much quarantined, locked inside, trying to figure out what to do, not losing their minds, not trying to, kill their kids essentially either. So, but let's go ahead and just dive in here. What's up, Luke Insipid? We got him here today, back returning. He has been a guest on the show before, but I liked him on here so much that I had to reach out again. So, how you been, Luke? How's everything treating you? I know going on with the quarantine situation. So, how's video games going for you, brother?
Man, it's been really good. All things considered, I'm pretty safe and lucky at home. Plenty of Xbox time. I've been playing a bunch of State of Decay, a lot of Doom Eternal. I've had a good time, all things considered. If we're allowed to say that, I've had a blast, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Glad to hear you're safe. Glad to hear your family's doing well, man. Thank you for once again spending a little bit of time with us here on Saturday, man. Like I told you before, you always are welcome on the show. Anytime, just hit me up, man. I'm glad you can make it today. Let's get to this awesome, amazing panel, the best panel in gaming, in my opinion, for sure, hands down. We're gonna start with you, Stag. How you been, brother? I know we've been communicating for the last few weeks, man, just trying to figure out what's going on with everybody. But how's everything going with you? How your week been?
Man, you must be talking about the other guys, so that's cool. But no, it's been going good, man. I don't know what you mean going crazy. Like, I feel like everyone's, oh, I got to stay home. I'm like, shit, I've been doing this for over 10 years. This is every day. This is like, all right, everybody's got to do what I got to do. And like, I do, honestly, I used to go out a couple times a day and take the kids to school and pick them up, and I'd go to the gym and work out. So I did have a little bit of interactions, and I am a little bit like, man, now that I can't do that, it's kind of like, fuck.
Yeah.
But, I've just honestly been picking up the streams, even though I'm struggling with the insomnia, but I just kind of switched my sleeping pattern and switched when I stream to reflect on when I'm going to bed now, and just trying to, deal with the world and the state that we live in right now, as best we can. So
I feel you. We all under the same thing, man. So I completely understand that, brother. So once again, I appreciate you taking some time out. Super consistent every single Saturday here. So let's move on.
Something good to take our minds off of.
Yeah, and this is what we do this for, people. This is why this is so important to us here. We give you guys quality content because this is you get an hour, you know what I'm saying, on Saturday here with us, just to kind of forget about everything that's going on and just, deep dive into video games and have fun, smile, laugh. By the way, as you're filing in, hit the like button, subscribe as well. So glad to hear from you, Stag, making sure that you and the family are good, man. So that's always good to hear. Centurion, how you been, brother? What's going on with you?
Oh, not bad, man. Doing pretty good. Ready for a great show. It's actually, oh man, I'm glad it's Saturday. Let's just say that. I get to kick it with you guys, have an awesome show, kick back, relax, forget about what's going on in the outside world down at the local Thunderdome. You don't have to compete for nothing right now. It's just going to be a great time.
Let's get it, man. Let's get it. And last but not least, man, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, how you been, brother?
Not too bad. Been hanging in there for the most part. Just getting my driving on in video game world, so I don't lose my mind completely. But other than that, been looking forward to talking about some games for some time. So let's get it.
Let's get it. Let's dive right in. And once again, appreciate you guys showing up here. Make sure you guys retweet that link. Let's try and get as many people in here as possible. I don't know what's going on with the YouTube notification, so the link on Twitter is probably the best way to let people know, what's happening. I'm not sure if that notification system is still working. YouTube has been having some issues, so bear with us. But you retweet that link. That's probably the best way to let other people know that we're going live right now. So let's go ahead and dive right in. And if you guys already know, if you're new here, we do a poll of the week every single Saturday. Well, every single Monday I put up the poll of the week, and then we talk about it here on the show Saturday. And the poll of the week this week was a very, very good poll of the week, and I actually pinned it, so I actually wouldn't have to look for it this week. And kudos to you, Stag, for giving me that advice. So the poll of the week this week was, which franchise has made the biggest leap in general from last gen to current, and I had four different options. We got Assassin's Creed, Gears of War, God of War, and Rainbow Six. Those are the four options. So the winner of that poll was Assassin's Creed at 42%, God of War 28%, Gears of War was 21%, and Rainbow Six was at 8%. So I want to go ahead and get your opinion, Insipid, on that particular poll. What would be your option based on where we've seen most of these games? We've seen pretty much all of those games throughout the generation. As far as last generation, who do you think made the biggest leap out of the four?
Of the four, from last generation to this one, I was shocked that it wasn't God of War that won. I think God of War did a lot to change not only its franchise reputation, but it did a lot for the gaming industry as we all now ask, is Gears of War or Halo Infinite going to have that God of War moment where everything's different and it makes that leap? As much as I really loved Assassin's Creed Black Flag at the beginning of the generation through Odyssey and Origins most recently, we had very similar experiences on the 360 and PS3. So I was surprised to see that it wasn't God of War by a mile on this one. That to me, that is the biggest leap in both storytelling, loading times. Not to mention gameplay. They changed their entire fundamental of gameplay from a fairly successful formula with the old God of Wars, but it became stale, and they reinvigorated their franchise. So I was quite surprised to see that didn't win, and my vote would have definitely gone to God of War as making the biggest leap from last to current gen.
And that's a very interesting perspective, because when I was going through these options, I didn't look at it from that perspective. Well, that was one perspective, but there was other ones as well, because if you got to look at in my choice, if I can go here, my choice would have been Assassin's Creed. Only because people almost didn't want another Assassin's Creed at the end of last generation. People never stopped wanting God of War. Whether it had stayed the way it was and or switched, people never stopped wanting God of War. The need for God of War was still there. People begged Ubi, we almost didn't want another Assassin's Creed. Like, we just do something different, Ubi. Please do something different. Assassin's Creed, I believe it was after what was that like? Was it Unity that had the major issues with the engine? I think Unity was a huge failure, and then they had the other one right after that. Was it Legion? I can't remember exactly the name of the one.
They had Assassin's Creed, Unity, and then
it was
Syndicate.
Another one. Syndicate, sorry.
Syndicate kind of righted the ship a little bit.
Yeah, Syndicate was actually a really good game, super underrated, but my choice would be Assassin's Creed just based on where the game was at. We were actually looking at Ubi saying, please don't give us another one of these. Do something else. I don't think God of War was ever in that position, but I do agree with you from a lot of other perspectives, Luke, and I didn't even look at it that way, because God of War has completely changed the core fundamentals of the game. But would you agree about Assassin's Creed, though, from that perspective as well?
I recognize exactly what you're saying. I think that at the end of the PS3 360 era, we got Rogue, which I never played, but Black Flag right at the very launch, and that was fantastic. Yeah. So that's, I think, where I get stuck on the last gen, current gen, because I believe Unity and Syndicate were this generation.
They were, but they were horrible games. Well, yeah, Unity was horrible. I'd say Syndicate.
I'm with you. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And so, I mean, I understand exactly where you're coming from. Origins and Odyssey are fantastic experiences that really upped the game for me, and they put them on a caliber that they were not at before.
Yeah.
So I think I'd still go God of War, but I totally see where you're coming from there.
Got it. Okay, let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Stag. Which one did you vote for and why, brother?
Man, I said in the comments, like, it was tough between AC and God of War for me. I think I ended up voting AC just because I haven't played the newest one, but just from everything I've seen from it, it looks like a game that I've played some of the earlier ones and couldn't get into them because I just didn't like the gameplay mechanics. And the newest one, like, I played 1 and 2 a little bit. Like, Odyssey really looks like a total departure from those early mechanics, just from a perspective of looking at what the gameplay that I've seen. So that's why I voted that. But I definitely, God of War was a game that I played early on in the series franchise and didn't like the gameplay at all. And I've played God of War on the new God of War on PS4, and that game made me want to go back and play the entire franchise.
Nice.
So I mean, I got a PSP from a friend and went and bought the 2 PSP games just so I could go back and play, because I don't have a PS3, so I can't play the complete one on the PS3. But I still I think AC went from being more of a stealth game to being more of an open world game. So, I mean, in my opinion, I could be totally wrong with that, but that was my perspective on the change of what Odyssey is now compared to like the first couple 2 or 3 games of Assassin's Creed. And I've never been into those games at all, but I really want to play Odyssey, but I'm I'm freaking intimidated by how long that game is. So
There's a shit ton to do.
that's
but it's
why
a
I
lot
haven't
more.
started it. But that's my opinion.
Okay, and I would agree too, because the RPG elements were introduced in Origins. It's more of, like you said, an open world RPG rather than just a stealth. You know, you hide, kill. You go find different people and kill them. So it's a lot more elements, side quests, all these different things that they've done to change the fundamental aspects of the game. But I do agree a lot of both of you guys' points about God of War 2. So Centurion, let's throw this over to you, man. What option did you pick and why, brother?
Okay. Wow. I feel like I might be starting a huge debate here, but okay, to put this into perspective, everybody, this is me putting my gamer log out on a solar pod here. I had no background in God of War until the PS4 generation where they had Christopher Judge play Kratos. I was not a big fan of just hack and slash, Devil May Cry, hack and slash, all that stuff. Awesome looking games, but they never were my thing because of the repetitiveness. I didn't get involved until this one. But when it comes to Assassin's Creed, I have played every single one of the games except for Assassin's Creed 3 and Assassin's Creed Rogue. But I do own them in my backlog, so I plan to get to them. I'm going to say, at least from what I have seen, I believe Assassin's Creed has had the most evolution. Because, take it from where it originally started in the first game to what we have now. When they did Assassin's Creed, oh my God, what was the one before Odyssey? Now I'm having a total brain fart. Origins. Okay, I'm a fraud.
Yeah, we know.
When I saw the trailer for Origins, I'll be truthful. I was those people that were Assassin's Creeded out. I mean, you're just like, oh my God, the formula is being ran into the ground. When they revealed Origins, I was totally mind blown, especially with the fact that they were tackling Egypt. And
people had asked for that too.
I 100%ed that game. That took a long time to 100% that game. And what I mean by, I'm not talking 100% the achievement list. I mean just 100%ing the game, period. So when Odyssey came out, I didn't think it could get any better because, how could it get better than that? And then all of a sudden now Odyssey has this RPG element with armor ratings. And I mean, the world is absolutely massive. Stagger's not joking. I have almost 200 hours in the base game alone. I haven't really tackled the DLCs very hard. Really. I just feel like that game, the story that Assassin's Creed also represents, and the game itself has just evolved a lot more than I feel like than God of War. Because if we look at God of War in the PS4, what was the one thing he had buried under the floor? He actually had things from, he actually had objects from the original games. I'm not too sure if Ubisoft at this point even considers the original games for Assassin's Creed part of the actual lore of Assassin's Creed anymore. Did they just kind of like hit the reset button when they brought out Origins and now they're just doing this whole new thing? Because if the truth is, if the rumors are true about getting Assassin's Creed Ragnarok, that's going to blow my freaking mind right there.
Yeah, I'll be into that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That Viking.
Sorry, I'm not trying to ramble. I loved the idea of Assassin's Creed. The games have always been awesome, but it was a formula that was getting extremely
stale,
played out. I thought Unity completely was going to kill the franchise, and then they brought out Syndicate, and I'm a huge Gangs of New York fan, and that whole game just reminded me of Gangs of New York, even though it took place over there.
Yeah.
And it was an awesome game. And then I obviously got to play Black Flag, which I thought Black Flag was honestly a good game.
It was a great game. I think it was a good game. So no, I agree with a lot of the points you made. I don't want to cut you off.
I'm rambling at this point.
No, you're good.
Sorry, not trying to beat the Assassin's Creed bandwagon drum.
No, I didn't want to cut you off if you weren't Centurion. So we're good. But once again, I do agree with a lot of the points you said as well about the Assassin's Creed, and just I think the formula. I think there was a complete break. I don't know if there was a break I mean, I felt like God of War they needed to do something different to revamp it, but they needed to completely
They
overhaul
overhauled
Assassin's
Assassin's
Creed.
Creed
Yeah,
completely.
yeah. So that was needed on the franchise. I don't know. I don't necessarily think that was needed for God of War. I mean, obviously it worked out great, but at the time, I don't know if people were asking for specifically what they got. I'm glad that they took the time to do what they did, and it was way better for that. And I don't see them ever going back to the way God of War was. But I think it was more needed in Assassin's Creed. So, Fuzz, let's go ahead and wrap this particular topic up. What out of those options, which one did you pick, brother?
I went with Assassin's Creed as well.
Woo!
It's just one of those things where with God of War, like you were saying earlier, I think people were still pretty happy with the series, and there was a lot of question on this whole change. No more jump button and all that
Oh,
stuff. And it was just one of those things where I think they pleasantly surprised a lot of people. Changing the format. Was it a big leap? Oh yeah, it was definitely a big leap, but I like you were saying also, a lot of people were kind of sick and tired of Assassin's Creed, especially after Unity with all the, game breaking bugs and glitches and things like that. And the Syndicate kind of flew under the radar. A lot of, truly dedicated Assassin's Creed players picked it up, but it wasn't as mainstream as a lot of the other titles. And then Origins was kind of like a revamp. It was like an extra year and a half or so, I think, in between Syndicate and Origins, it seemed. And it allowed them to kind of, breathe life back into the series with the, more of an RPG element. And then when they went with Odyssey, they turned up that RPG element up a good bit for the better. I was never really an Assassin's Creed player prior to that. Like, I really tried to get into Unity. Never really picked up any of the Assassin's Creeds prior to that, and just did not really care for it. As far as the I guess the parkour just seemed a little off in comparison for me. Origins felt a little bit better as far as being able to scale, some of the buildings and things like that. And plus the environment, I kind of, it was a nice take on ancient Egypt and stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I went with Assassin's Creed just because I was one of those that was like, Assassin's Creed, you sneak up behind people and stab them in the neck. Okay. And then having it where it was more of like an open world setup, was more appealing for me.
Got it. Okay. And I know we had some other options, Gears of War, as well as Rainbow Six. And I do want to say one thing about Rainbow Six. Rainbow Six almost died after it came out. It almost didn't make it. So that game, they did a full. I think they had probably a bigger turnaround than Destiny or Division as far as where the game was at to where it is now. Because that game at one point almost completely died. And they kept at it. They kept at it. They kept continuing to put out content. And now it's one of probably the most played and streamed games this entire generation. So they've done a fantastic job with that game, and I just wanted to make sure I showed.
Can I add on one thing, just real
ahead.
quick? It just popped in my head, but I just have to add it on that the Assassin's Creed Origins came out about a month before the release of a few weeks before the release of the Xbox One X. And I remembered getting that game, bringing it home, trying it for 10 minutes and telling myself I'm going to wait until the X comes out. And I remember when the X came out, that's like Ubisoft basically saying that we're setting the bar for what an awesome game with a massive open world should look like.
Got it. Okay. And I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Origins definitely was a turning point for the game. It showed people, okay, Ubi's really invested in, giving this game the type of love that we think it needs. So super happy about that. So that was a great warm-up topic, everybody. Once again, everybody that's coming in now, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Appreciate your kindness. You guys hanging out with us this weekend. So let's move on. So we got some next gen stuff to talk about. We didn't get to it next week. Sorry, we're about a week late on this. I know some people have done videos and other podcasts have probably beat this in the ground, but we're talking some Series X stuff. Now, obviously that information dropped, it's last week before even. And I just wanted to dive into that, get you guys' general opinion. We may not spend too much time on it, but just get you guys' general opinion on obviously the information that came out about the Series X, where it's at, where you're going, how excited you are for it, maybe even some of the features that you guys, now that we know more about it, some of the features that you guys are really, really enjoying. And also to piggyback off of that, just the confidence that Xbox is showing right now as far as the brand, as far as the direction, as far as having a roadmap. And we're going to start with you, Insipid. So just general information about how you feel about the information that dropped about the Series X, and then also about just what Xbox is doing as a brand and company.
You asking me, Blam?
Yeah, you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I really liked the messaging that we've seen from the Xbox Series X. A lot of the information that we've seen come out about it seems to detail things that we had a lot of questions about. The comparison that constantly goes through my mind when I look at the power and the raw power that seems to be coming through here is now it's time to show gameplay and to see what's up there. I love the share button on the controller. I love the way that the system is looking. It seems to be fading out well. The PS5 specs that were released and the way that they released those specs from Sony's side seemed to draw a lot of comparisons between the two that favored the Xbox Series X and a lot of mind share. And I'm very curious to see where they go. But I thought their reveal event, the showing the breakdown, the magnetic displays of them putting it back into the box on a hardline, Austin Evans content, Digital Foundry's content, all of that seemed to paint a very bright picture for Xbox's future. Provided manufacturing and whatnot holds out, I think we're in for a very good holiday on the hardware side for sure.
Awesome, and I completely agree. And I think the biggest thing you mentioned was the way they did it, the way they went about it. They put it in these big YouTubers' hands. They let Digital Foundry and they let them create the content for Xbox. They allowed these guys who do this all day to create the content. The Xbox just gave them the tools, set the narrative the right way. It wasn't forced. It was natural. Here's the box. Do whatever you want with it. Look at it. Take it apart. Put it back together. It was a fresh way to go about it. It wasn't stale. It wasn't here's a math board or some projector or whatever the case may be, and this is a list of all the features, and that's all we're getting you. Then you also, the cool thing I liked about it too is that they showed some of the features actually working. Like even though they're not working on games that obviously they're going to be the Series X specific games, but this is an idea. You guys have a general idea on how these features are going to work. This is what it looks like. The quick resume, some of the other things that the Series X is capable of. So I like that too. And like I said, this is, I think, and I don't know if you would agree with me here, Insipid, that this is, I don't know if I think they changed like their marketing manager. They have somebody new doing it now. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's a woman. I think she's the same woman that suggested that they do the reveal at VGAs. But I don't know if that may be the case. But would you agree that they just seem really, I don't say confident. It's just they seem to know where they're going now.
Absolutely. They seem to have a very clear roadmap with what it is they're bringing to the table, what they're putting in front of the public's faces. And it seems to me that they're doing a very good job at staggering the information. What's up, Stagger? At staggering the information throughout so that there's consistently something positive about Xbox in the news cycle. And that to me is very smart marketing when you're building mindshare. And I would also argue that whatever their plan was 2 months ago, it certainly has needed to adapt given the current crises and changes in situations for a number of their consumers. And it seems to me that they're adapting to that as well. Not to mention that amidst all this Series X news, you have Ori and the Will of the Wisps that has come out. Bleeding Edge is coming out to middling reviews, understandably, and I understand that there. But also Minecraft Dungeons is on the way. Gears Tactics, Wasteland 3. They've got a lot of reasons to be promoting themselves, and they can bounce back and forth between here's what we have right now and here's what you can look for down the line. And so their marketing department is likely working overtime right now, but it seems to me that they are hitting all the right points now that they missed in 2013 and launching the Xbox One.
I 100% agree. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Stag. Just get your genuine opinion on the Series X. I know we've talked about this in DMs and all over Twitter. Just your general opinion on the information that was released as well as how Xbox is going about doing it.
I'm going to keep it a little bit short because I'm not a technical specs guy on either console.
Got you.
I think Insipid, you covered it greatly. I will say that I feel that giving your box to another company or reviewers, YouTubers, whatever, and just saying, here, do what you want, it shows an immense amount of confidence in your product. Like, go ahead, do what you want. Like, we know this works well. We know what it's capable of. Have fun. That just exudes confidence, in my opinion. Now, the thing I'm most excited about, besides like bigger worlds and no load times, well, not no, but you know what I mean, is the freaking quick resume. Like, I watched a video of a guy jumping from game to game to game, like 5 different games, and it left him in the spot he was in, and it resumed in that immediate spot. And I was like, I don't know how, if I'll do that with 5 games, but I know how I play on my Xbox, and I could totally see myself using that. And it was exciting to just kind of see it in action. So I like that. I think Xbox has positioned themselves really well going into next gen, and I just really want to see what these studios are working on. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know more. I want to see more. Like, we all want to see more, because you don't acquire 15 or whatever studios to have them twiddle their thumbs and not make and you know, to steal a tagline, make greatness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think they're in a great position. I think they know exactly what they want to do, and I think they know next gen that they are going. I mean, as long as, in my opinion, if the console isn't too expensive, they've lined themselves up to hit the market harder than they did last time. I think.
Absolutely.
They're not going to win the console sales war, but the fact that they're trying to get on more devices and they already have like a little bit of a lead on other platforms when it comes to that, and you know, they want you in their ecosystems with subscriptions and stuff, I think they might win, or at least come close with the whole overall money battle.
Got it. Okay. Well, I agree with you. That's a lot of cool points that you talked about as far as the xCloud and some of the other things. And this is what we've been talking about. You know, it's chess, not checkers. You know, lining yourself up for 2, 3, 4 years from now. Even though, you know, people, you know, this whole thing about Xbox not having any Series X exclusives year one, they're still lining themselves up to have consistent releases of video games and consistent content up until we start getting those, you know, Series X specific games. So I think it's a great leeway or segue into this next generation. I think Phil and company, they're doing a fantastic job listening to the fans, you know, just doing whatever they feel like they need to do to make the system the best as it possibly can be. So we're going to throw this over to you, Centurion. Just your opinion once again on the Series X, the release, the information that was given to us, as well as how Xbox handled that.
Well, Microsoft, in my opinion, is doing an awesome job, and that has nothing to do with being an Xbox fan. It just has to do with they're giving us information while other people are being a little bit more silent than people would like them to be. Not to mention that they're being driven by what happened at the beginning of this generation. They knew that we all saw what happens if you have a misstep launching a game console, what it can do to your game console and how far it can set you behind. And Microsoft has learned from that, and this time they don't want to be caught up in that. They want to hit the ground running. I think we're going to see a completely different Microsoft as we get closer and closer in the next gen. And as soon as next gen gets around, I think we're going to see a completely different Microsoft that we haven't seen before, because I'm pretty sure they're just waiting this generation out. They already want to move on from the Xbox One generation because of just the uphill battle that has ensued with the brand during this generation. The specs, on the other hand, it's really great. Like like Stagger talked about, was that instant resume for like multiple games.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it's pretty.
I'm all over the place right now with games. I would just totally love something like that. Not to mention, I'm really looking forward to seeing what these new graphics and what I would love to have that PC experience, but I don't want to have to be, sorry, Stag, but I don't want to sit on a chair that could potentially wipe me out during a podcast. I think I would rather just be on my couch and just hope for the best. But no, definitely, I'm looking forward to an experience that is going to change gaming. We're going to see loading screens disappear on both consoles. Both consoles are going to implement ray tracing. I am curious, though, what they're going to do on Microsoft's side, because Phil Spencer has come out and in a few articles made statements towards the idea that some of the stuff that they're doing with ray tracing is kind of proprietary. They're doing things differently than they're done on PCs, because everybody's always talked about how ray tracing is just going to hurt frame rates because it's a huge hog on the game systems for ray tracing. But when you talk to Phil Spencer about it, he starts making comments about, or at least when you read the articles and they bring that up. I'm not talking to Phil Spencer. I would love that. But when they talk to Phil Spencer about that, he talks about how they do their shading differently, and the ray tracing is going to be done a little differently. And it's a little bit more proprietary. It's things that haven't been done too much on PC, and it doesn't have that huge hit to frame rates. Not to mention the hints of the idea of the direct machine learning potential for this console. Do you guys know what that is? Have you
I don't
heard
know.
of it?
I don't
Oh,
know.
with the high res image,
Yeah,
like
basically,
loading and
yeah,
scaling.
yeah, direct machine learning, or what they're calling direct ML, and Microsoft's version of ray tracing is known as DirectX ray tracing. So it came out about the same time as that. They've just kind of been keeping it under a lid. But direct ML is where you give a low resolution image to an artificial intelligence. Probably more than likely, it's going to be backed up by xCloud. And it's actually able to convert a low resolution image into a very passable 4K image. And they're saying that the potential for 8K is there as well, which is why I think they're touting the 8K potential of the Series X is because of a feature like this.
Okay. So you way more technical. You know, me and Stag, we so far left of the technical stuff, man. But I can't. That sounds like an awesome feature that we all.
Well,
Just give me the pretty. That's all I want.
See, that's what I want to say. I'm technical, but I am nowhere near a professional. I don't want anybody to say that. I just enjoy reading the stuff.
Got it.
But yeah, definitely, they're going to be like, come on. They've already said that there's stuff going on in this console right now that is not available for PC yet. And I really look forward to the future of gaming right now, because things are definitely going to start getting very interesting now that the line between PC and console is starting to be blurred very heavily.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. And that's another thing that we want to reiterate here too, that there is the line being blurred a bit. And obviously, PCs are going to continue to grow. I don't know if consoles will ever catch all the way up, but essentially that line is being blurred a bit. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. Get your genuine opinion on the Series X information, as well as how Xbox released the information. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I just can't wait for this thing to be released. That's the biggest thing. It's amazing. Like, we talked about their confidence level and things like that, with being able to just hand their hardware over to, the YouTubers, as well as, some of the strictest, most scrutinizing analysts as far as when it comes to technical stuff. I'm just happy that they're actually talking about their product, even if it's in dribs and drabs, as far as, oh, here's a few more features that we didn't talk about like last week or last month, but at least there's some info out there. And it's just one of those things that I want this thing on my entertainment center here sooner rather than later. But all things understood. Guess we have to wait until the holidays, this coming holidays. But yeah, it's awesome. I'm hoping they continue this steady pace of release information, and maybe we'll hear about another box here soon for those that the X might be out of the price range for.
Yeah.
But as far as the games, I think that's the next thing. I really want to see. The one I'm most waiting for is, I guess you could say, Forza Motorsport 8.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some interesting concepts out there by a few people on Twitter and then in the community, and I'm hoping that a lot of those are extremely close, if not dead on, to what we get in the next game. But the quick resume, the shorter load times, also the info about, like, I guess additional hard drive space or chips or cards that will contain like another drive. So I guess for the most part, the one thing that might be a little tricky would be games made specifically for the X, where you won't be able to necessarily keep them or play them from a disked hard drive. You could probably store them there, and it'll just be a matter of transferring it to your primary or your internal and whatnot. But if we have at least a terabyte to work with, that means I can keep a few games in rotation, as opposed to something a little bit less than a terabyte being a little bit trickier as far as only one or two games at a time in rotation. But
I guess this new hard drive they came out with is actually faster than an SSD.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just one of those things. I can't wait. Yeah.
Okay.
December can't get here soon enough.
I know, right? Tell me about it, man. Tell me about it. So I think we're all in agreement that it was a great essentially just information dump. They did it the right way. I think we're all in agreement of that as well. The way it was provided to consumers was amazing. So let's go ahead and move on. And we're moving on, talking a little bit about the PS5. Now, I made a video about this yesterday, or if you guys hadn't seen the video, make sure you guys go check it out. It's on the channel. You guys can go look at that right now. Now, I don't want this to be essentially about the information that we got out of Sony. Now, we got some information out of Sony. A lot of it was, obviously directed at developers. A lot of it was high level stuff, wasn't necessarily for just consumers. But I more so want to talk about the way they provided the information as well. It rubbed some people the wrong way. Now, we get it. I understand, like I said, who it was for, and I think we all are on that same page as well. But I just want to break down, how it was presented, some of the things that they could have done or maybe should have done, just based on your opinion. Now, even me saying all of this, I don't think this is going to hurt PlayStation at all. I don't think this has any bearings on how well the console is going to perform and or sell. I think it's going to be a fantastic console. It's going to be very comparable to the Xbox Series X. I don't think there's going to be, that big of a, I don't say big of a gap, but I think they're both going to be very, very amazing consoles. We all should be very happy about what we're about to get from these two companies. So I'm going to start with you a little bit on that, Insipid. I don't know if you watched the event, but what do you think? Would you think about it in general and the way the information was provided, as well as some of the info we got about, specifically, I guess, the SSD and some of the things they're doing?
Sure. Yeah, the delivery of the information was a big faux pas, and it's really frustrating because, as well as we talked about Microsoft doing such a great job in terms of their publicity and their PR. I feel like Sony really dropped the ball in their delivery of this information. They had an extremely technical conference, which is expected for a GDC or GDC replacement, I should say. And Mark Cerny is beyond brilliant. He's one of those human beings that is just wonderful to listen to when you're in the right context. The problem with it was the way that the social media accounts went about, letting people know, tweeting out, you're going to hear about the next level of PlayStation 5, and a combination of, I think, media needing news that wasn't related to the virus, people being home, and YouTubers and content creators being available and wanting to publicize something, flocked a different type of audience to this event than might otherwise would have been. And so when you get in there and you listen to an admittedly strange conversation with the Jim Ryan introducing Mark Cerny, where they probably weren't in the same room, it was probably a digital thing, and then you had the odd overlays going on there, it just sent a strange vibe. And so I think the delivery of the information really put a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, particularly content creators, because there wasn't anything exciting to watch. I mean, it was a truly boring event for the layman. Now, if you're more technically minded or you were interested in that GDC, Mark Cerny does what Mark Cerny does, and he impresses you with his brilliance. I agree with you on a couple points. I want to say very clearly, I think the PlayStation 5 looks to be an incredible machine that is arriving at a similar destination as the Xbox Series X, but taking a different road. Their efficiency and the methodology with avoiding bottlenecking information seems to be the way that they are trying to achieve more pretty, as you guys said. And am inclined to agree with that as well. I think that we're looking at two different methods of getting a better machine. And I am very, very excited by that. To be very clear, I think they've got a great thing going for them. Yeah. And I agree with you also. I do not think it's going to hurt sales of the system down the road. The moment they show the box, the controller,
it's going to go crazy.
Everyone's going to forget it. Yeah. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. So
it looked like a bedpan.
Well, there's that as well too. Now, once again, the one thing I do want to piggyback off of that, Insipid, or what you said was, there's also another element here. Sony hasn't had an event and or a show in a year and a half. So if this is what you have to understand it. We haven't shown our audience anything. They haven't seen anything from us in a year and a half. No PSX, no anything, no E3, no anything. We get a state of play. I think, what was that, like earlier this year, very, very early. That was it, or maybe even last year. So there was nothing to see. So you got to understand it. Okay, if we're putting this out for people to see, and our social media group is touting this as the next step, next evolution of Sony, it's gonna look like, okay, this is some shit we need to watch, especially if you're a fan of Sony. And I just think the way they went about it, like you said, I think it was a little bit short-sighted. Obviously, it was for GDC, it was for more technical developers, and that. And if you're into that, it was great. But a majority of the people that sat down and were excited about this did not get the information delivered the way that they wanted it. Because it was still great information. The console was going to be amazing, but it didn't fit. Like you said, you want to get people excited about the console, and the tone wasn't excitement. You know what I'm saying? The tone was more so here's a bunch of information. Let's get it out. List down the list essentially more like a lecture. So once again, I don't think this is going to have any bearing on Sony at all. Once that thing drops, the internet's going to go crazy. Everybody's going to love it. So I don't think anybody's going to have an issue with it. So Stag, let's go ahead and move over to you. I know he's probably going to keep it short here. What was your opinion on that, man?
I didn't watch it. My favorite part was watching everybody freak out about how boring it was, and then going back and watching the PS5 or PlayStation, excuse me, extreme fanboy reactions to the presentation live. I went back on YouTube and saw some people like just freaking out, like, what the fuck is this bullshit, man? And like just going crazy because they were disappointed in the presentation. And that was actually kind of fun for me, just to be like, damn, y'all take this shit too seriously. But I don't know a lot about it. I read an article today and I didn't absorb it. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, like, we know I lean Xbox. I definitely play on all of the other consoles, and I've been playing more of my PS4 lately. But I still don't feel like I know enough, about it, and I don't feel like that was the it was a GDC. It was a techie presentation, and I kind of felt like going into that, that's what it was going to be. I didn't feel that it was going to be a hype machine style presentation. True. So I don't know. I mean, I'll get it. I don't know if I'm going to get it day one right now. I need more reasons to get it day one right now. I mean, Xbox has given us tons of reasons other than like what games we're going to have, obviously, but they've showed us so much and like told us a lot, and I feel like I mean, like I've said, I'm more of an Xbox guy, and I was probably going to get that regardless, unless it totally shit the bed. But I mean, right now, I will eventually get a PS5. Day one, I'm still on the fence.
Okay, that's fair point. Fair point. And to be fair, Sony did mention in the tweet that it was a deep dive into the PS5. Yeah. So they did let people know in the tweet that this was a deep dive. So if people have reading issues, they didn't understand.
I think people thought deep dive meant something else.
Exactly. But you got to understand, they haven't seen anything in a year and a half from Sony. So a lot of that was just pent up. I need to see something. Give me something.
Well, we know they're pent up. We've been talking about it in DMs.
Well, what I'm saying is that a lot of that came from, I just want to see something. It wasn't even really anything to. I just want to see anything.
Hey,
give me something.
I wanted to see something more than what they showed too.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people did.
And I didn't feel the disappointment on the level that like.
True. I didn't.
The extreme, the diehard fanboys did. And like I saw a lot of them like try and make excuses and play it down and stuff. And it's like, dude, just be real. You didn't get what you wanted. You know what I mean? Don't be.
Exactly. Exactly.
My brain's not working correctly right now.
It's all right,
so.
But that's okay at the end of the day. Like we all said, the console's going to be fine. So stop overreacting, people. As soon as they drop that bad boy, I'm sure all you guys are going to be right back on the train.
As soon as they show it and like show some gameplay, they're going to be planting their flag as my console is the best again. So
and it's okay. It's friendly competition, but I hope once again these two companies are pushing each other to do better, and we agree.
We all benefit from that.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you. We'll start with you this time, Fuzz. Just your opinion on. I don't know if you watched it. I believe we talked about this, and you did watch it. So just the delivery of the information, as far as what you thought of the actual console itself.
Well, when we got on Xbox chat, I told you I was half falling asleep on the thing. Like, for the most part, I like the technical stuff a lot of times, but some of the additional dive into the hard drive, I had already gotten the point as far as what it's going to do from speed and as far as like the pipeline and things like that. But my biggest, I won't say concern, because it's kind of a concern with both consoles, both the X as well as the PS5, is that new games specifically designed for them are not going to be something that we can play from our 8 terabyte disked hard drive. We got to go with this SSD setup. Mm-hmm. And the PlayStation 1 apparently is going to be a bit faster. Okay, big whoop. The only thing that I don't like about it is that it's a little bit smaller of a drive. Not a lot. It's 800 and some odd gigs as opposed to a full terabyte, but Then again, usually when you say a terabyte, a
It's
couple of
not
gigs
quite a
are going to
terabyte.
be for
Yeah.
operating system anyway. But it could be the difference between me only having 2 to 3 games on that hard drive or on that SSD on my PlayStation 5 versus 5 or 6 possibly on my my X1 Xbox Series X SSD. But other than that, the presentation I think missed an opportunity for the fact that a lot of their fans were going to be watching. I get it. They probably didn't tell Cerny or make any contingent plan to change their approach. I mean, it's for devs. That was what that whole deep dive was for. It was written for, and that was the audience that they were expecting. But they probably should have kind of tweaked the message just a little bit because they knew most of their fan base were going to watch. I mean, we were saying that they didn't get real or give much to their fans over this past year and a half. They at least got a logo. I was hoping for a little bit more, like maybe an actual visual representation of the box, or if not the box, at least the controller, because I think even in the beginning of this current generation, when the PS4 was first announced, we at least by this point at least saw what the controller was going to be like. So it'd be kind of interesting to see this DS5 and other than the little patent pending info as far as like it monitoring your heart rate and I guess
back paddles and stuff like that.
Analyzing your sweat glands or something to that effect. I was hoping that they would at least explain some more things or details about it in particular. But the specs for it, pretty enthused with it. We can now finally put the rest. All of those guys that were saying, "Oh, it's 13 point what?" Yeah, no, it's got a boost mode. That's great. It's going to be plenty of power for any of the games that they have.
Exactly.
I wish they would have went into a little more detail on like the backwards compatibility deal, as opposed to just being a blanket statement of 100 PS4 games. Well, is it going to be all first party? Because if it's at least first party, I'm happy with that. The multi-plat stuff I'm not too worried about, but it should be like a no ifs, ands, or buts about it, all first party.
Definitely.
And even some of the second party, cooperation deals that they have, those should be like day one backwards compatibility for PS4. But I'm pretty sure we'll find out more between now and November. So, but it'd be nice if we had a little more detail like we have like on the Xbox Series X. That's all.
Okay. All right, and Centurion, let's wrap this up with you, brother. What was just your general opinion on the overall press, show and how they presented the information, as well as what we saw from Sony and the system itself?
I've read a lot of articles. Forgive me. By the time I was even able to think about watching the video, there were so many articles on it. I got the short version because from what I read, it wasn't. It was. I don't want to. It was for some people. It wasn't for everyone. We'll just say that.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with the PlayStation? I'm not going to sit here and beat down the PlayStation. Each company has their own way they're going to do next gen. Like Lucas was saying right here, PlayStation has their way, Xbox has their way, and it's going to be really interesting going forward to see who kind of had the better idea, or in which way can one system outperform the other. Like we're all seeing all this stuff on the PS5 having a faster SSD, but when it comes to how that SSD functions with the rest of the console, you could have something in there that could slow it down. So for me, optimization is going to be a big thing.
For both.
We all know
and we
all know how Microsoft gets with custom tech. They love optimization, where PlayStation sometimes in the past has used off-the-shelf parts. This is one of the first generations, I believe, that they've used AMD. So it's going to be very interesting going forward. Both consoles are going to change how gaming is done when it comes to a console space. When it comes to the actual the whole thing that the fans got, I'm going to be truthful. I really kind of didn't see. I thought Sony would be more revealing than they were.
I think we all did.
I'm shocked that they're being as reserved as they are. I'm very curious on what's going to happen as time goes forward. In my mind, if we don't start having prices probably by June, August, I'm going to start wondering what the hell's even going on with the release
Potentially
of next
delays.
gen.
Is that kind of where you're going with that? Delays, consoles maybe being pushed back a little bit?
Right. Now Xbox apparently is on track for a holiday release.
Sony said as well. Sony came out and said
PlayStation said no delays.
They said as well that they're. Sony said they're. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Stan. Go ahead.
PlayStation came out and said that there will be no delay because of the virus.
And I have a question for you guys.
That's cool. That's cool. I didn't see that one yet.
Oh, go ahead, Luke.
Do you guys think that while there's no delays to Series X or PlayStation 5, if there was to be a Series S, maybe that got put on hold or bumped or changed due to manufacturing?
Oh, like the Lockhart is what you're talking about, essentially?
Well, yeah, we keep hearing that, and that could just be YouTube or echo chamber coming back and forth, or it could be totally real. And if it was to be real and it was to be this year, do you think maybe it delayed that, and that's why Series X they're focusing on Series X components, and that's not going away?
You want to take that, Centurion?
I'm gonna, actually. So I see them rolling out the Series X this holiday in very limited quantity. And this is gonna be like, the rollout of the creme de la creme product right there. And I'm thinking, depending on how much stock they really have available for the Series S, the mythical Lockhart, if by some chance they don't have this is in my mind, everyone. If they don't have enough stock of the Lockhart to go around, I think they might potentially hold off on the launch of the Lockhart just a few months just to get that stock there, so that way they could have a mass release. And you could definitely launch the premium product on like a soft launch and then have the full-blown mega rollout around the Series S.
That's an interesting take. Go ahead, Stan.
What I'm more concerned about is not like a pushback of the whatever Lockhart Series S. Is I did read something the other day about potential delays on games because of the whole working from home environment right now. I mean, like, yeah, you can work from home on these games and stuff like that, but still there's information that, these studios usually lock their shit down. You know what I mean? When they're at studios, and they don't want the stuff leaving the room, kind of, almost, you want to say. So like working on games at home, sure, you can do it, but how much of the game code can you build? How much of that without it possibly getting your computer hacked or leaked out? So I'm a little bit concerned about maybe some of the games on both systems getting pushed back.
Yeah, and I think that's a real concern. And I think across the board,
games we haven't even heard about.
Exactly, across the board, even the ones we've heard about, the ones that we've seen, and we know Idle, all those other games that we've seen, everywhere, all that kind of stuff. Just even though I think that's a huge concern as well, and that just goes to show you where we're at right now. So obviously, everything going in the video game space is tentative. Everything we're getting, all the information is tentative based on how things play out. So I think we can all take things with a grain of sand as far as any type of release dates, any type of launch windows, all of that can change, and that's, I think, on a kind of day-to-day basis. So
let's do you mind if I interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead. No, take your time.
No, I won't. So let's I see it kind of popping up in the chat. Let's ask the question: how many people believe that the Lockhart is a myth, and how many people think that it's actually a strategy that Microsoft might want to implement?
I think it's a myth.
You think it's a myth?
I don't believe it's a thing.
I don't know, man.
Not initially. I mean, granted, their history of the S, the OG, the S, and the X, and now the SAD.
That's usually a couple years into the generation.
Yeah, but I don't see it coming out immediately. So.
Yeah, but now, why do both console manufacturers, I'm saying both, everyone, Sony and PlayStation, and hell, even Nintendo, have a high-end model and a low-end model of their hardware? So why is it not fathomable that they would potentially do this again?
Well, I don't think
I didn't say it wasn't fathomable. Yeah, I just think it's not happening.
Yeah.
Not right now, anyways.
Got it. So I think right now, and I agree with Stag on that. I think that's not. I mean, this is a different Xbox, but I don't know if they're going to be that different to where we're going to. Because I mean that,
and the technology is like totally like different. And it's advanced, you know what I mean? Like the graphical leap is, and just the leap is pretty crazy.
And I think, Go ahead.
might take some time to actually leap again to justify putting out like a Xbox One X type of thing or a PS4 Pro.
No, I'm talking like a weaker version of the console to kind of improve how many people can afford it.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the chat. No, I get you. I just, man, yeah. I mean, the track record of Xbox, they put out the SAD. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what everybody calls it. So it's just easier to do that. So
hey, I prefer Satuday.
That's how they say it in France, Sade. Anyway, but no, I agree. I think for Xbox, I don't know if I want, like, I think they're doing so well right now, just giving us information, just giving us about the one console, and I don't know if we necessarily need it now. Obviously, we don't have a price range on these consoles yet, the PS5 or the Series X, so obviously that's going to determine a lot. But I don't know about the Series S. That may be something that they've thought about. That especially if it comes in and it's a little higher price than we initially thought. But I don't know. I just don't know.
I think they're less concerned with that than they are getting on your phones and getting on your tablets. I mean, I think that's the X Cloud is their secondary market instead of a lower spec console.
And that may still come later.
That could be true. Yeah. That's one thing. Because I'm just wanting to put out there, how I hate the term casual gamer. I will just use the term reserved. You know how many reserved gamers would balk at a $500 price tag for a console?
Both of them are going to be $500.
Well, that's why I'm just saying, like, that but that's why the Switch has been very successful in the fact that it's a mobile console and the fact that it's around $200 to $300.
Well, Nintendo is a completely different lane. Like, that's a complete. I don't even include them with like even any type of business strategy. Nintendo, we go to the beat of their own drum. Nintendo can put out anything, and I'm not saying anything about their fan base, but Nintendo fans buy Nintendo products. It does not matter. How often do you see? Matter of fact, the Switch has been out how long now? How long has the Switch been out?
Few years.
Has it had a price drop? I mean, they came out with a
dude, Nintendo's worse than Walt Disney. Okay, those guys think their stuff is made of gold. They don't put that stuff on sale. Some Black Friday sales, you're like, this is
and it sells.
And it sells like it still sells out. So my point is that's why I don't include Nintendo. They do whatever they want to do, and their fans are going to buy whatever they put out. Not saying it in a negative way, but it's just the facts about what Nintendo does. I don't even include them in any type of business strategy that Sony and or Microsoft may have. But now I agree with what you're saying though overall. So let's go ahead and move on to the very, very last topic. And ironically, great segue into Nintendo. We're actually talking a little bit about Animal Crossing here, since it's probably the biggest game to come out in my recent memory that lasts at least this year for sure. Now that the game sold amazingly well, I think like 1.82 million copies in Japan alone. Huge opening. Just wanted to talk a little bit about that because I've seen a lot of people, and I have two things that I want to talk about this. One being the game success overall, and Nintendo just continues to do what they do. The other one being the perfect storm of a game like Animal Crossing coming out now. And I think a lot of the way things are going now, and everything going on in the world, it's the perfect game to kind of immerse yourself in, especially if you have to be at home anyway. It's a perfect game to just dive into and just lose all sense of reality for hours on end, essentially. So we'll talk about this first with you, Insipid. Just your general opinion. I don't know if you played it or even have a Switch, but just your general opinion on the success of Nintendo again, with their games and their first party. Well, they are first party, but with their games as well as just Animal Crossing and the perfect storm that surrounded it.
I think when it comes to Nintendo, I mean, I love my Switch. I think it's a great system. I absolutely adore Breath of the Wild. And when it comes to Nintendo, their ability to execute on IP is nothing should. Yeah, it's just impressive. I mean, it just is. They've got plenty of IP that don't sell. Metroid doesn't sell as much as I love it. Kirby doesn't sell. They got a bunch of stuff that doesn't do gangbuster numbers, and still they're deemed successes for just the scale that they operate at. I'm not one for Animal Crossing. I chose Doom Eternal as my game of choice. But I cannot tell you how sincerely it makes me happy to see that at a time right now where people need something to be happy about, people are loving and enjoying that game. And so there is a There is a vibe and a mood that comes with a franchise like that I'm very glad people are getting, and it could not have come at a better time. So bravo to them, kudos to them, and cheers to anybody that's enjoying it.
Absolutely, and I wholeheartedly agree. And people were going back and forth on Twitter about the success, and is there going to be any other game that comes out this year that sells as well right off the bat? I don't know. We don't know. I mean, Last of Us 2 is coming out. It may do well. It may do better. It may not do better. But one thing I will say about Nintendo is that they definitely stick to the beat of their drums. They don't really deviate from that. They know what their fans want. I mean, Animal Crossing, the last one was on with like a Wii. I think the Wii or something like that. The OG Wii. I don't remember the last system it was on.
Yeah,
Was it the Wii
GameCube
or
was the first
GameCube?
one.
Oh, the first one was GameCube. What was the most recent one outside? Well, before the one that just dropped. I don't remember exactly. I think it was could have been the Wii. I don't remember exactly.
Oh,
But
there's
either
one on the DS.
okay, yeah, there's one on the handheld. So
3DS.
yeah, so that it may be even that one. So obviously, there was a huge pent up demand for the game. So I just think it just shows.
Wow, there's like 1, 2,
Oh,
5, 6, 7, 8. Jesus Christ.
there's a ton of them. Okay,
Yeah.
so I haven't.
You know what's interesting, boys?
Uh-huh.
You have to look at Nintendo now. They're like in their most recent direct, they talked about the BioShock collection, the Borderlands collection, and a number of things.
Mhm.
So many of those things, they're now having to contend with space and memory because a lot of those games are the first few levels of their respective titles in the collection, and then you have to download the rest of it. They're now having to compete on a memory scale that they haven't had to do before. If they want to keep up with PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, they're gonna have to find a way to get those ports onto their console while adapting to that memory space. And I think that's an interesting thing to look at. It just occurred to me while we were talking.
And that's always interesting because that's one thing. When the Switch came out, we all talked about the size and the space that's available, especially if you want to compete. Even with the crossplay, because you got these games that are going to be available on everything. That system doesn't have a ton of space to carry these games, and then you don't want to have a Wii situation where you're getting a completely stripped down version of these third party games or these multiplats, where you're getting 10% of what the game actually was supposed to be. Let's not all forget Call of Duty on the Wii. I don't know if anybody played that, but that thing was like GoldenEye 64.
I like the spoofs that were going
Oh
around.
my
Boo-boo.
goodness, it was a horrible experience. But like that's interesting too that you brought that up. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. Just get your genuine opinion. I believe the boys have a Switch, but on Animal Crossing the success as well as just Nintendo continuing to hammer home, their first party games.
It's amazing on how well they have, like with their first party stuff as far as attachment rate. That's Nintendo being Nintendo for the most part. They know how to sell their games to their customers. Not looking at getting Animal Crossing anytime soon, but it is kind of like that perfect game while you're at home for those that are fortunate enough to be able to work from home, or for the kids that are out of school and able to squeeze that in between the online class stuff that they may have to do. But will other games this year possibly rival those numbers? I don't know. Nintendo games tend to have a wide appeal base. It's not like a first-person shooter where it's usually only going to appeal to a certain segment, albeit a large segment, but nowhere near as approachable as something like Animal Crossing, where everything from the grandkids to the grandparents can play it. So
good point.
It's perfect game at a unfortunate time, I guess you could say, and. We'll see how well Last of Us 2 does. We'll see how well Halo Infinite does. I believe both of those will rival those numbers within the first week. Will they sell 2 million copies in the first day? I don't know. But, with everybody, if we're still at where we're at now and people are still working from home or able to work from home, because money's still coming in. People should be able to buy those games pretty quick. But if things take a turn for the worse, we'll have to revisit it then. But for the most part, it's great to see a game doing well at this point in time, and people at least being able to put their minds at ease, or at least get their mind off of the news cycle. Playing something they enjoy for a bit.
Got it. I agree 100%. And like I said, I think it was just a perfect storm. I think, and it's a great thing for Nintendo. And like I said, it just continues to show the support that they have, the way that they do things. It works. They just kind of go about their business and it works every single time. Well, just about every time. So let's get this over to you. We're going to wrap this thing up since you're around. So what's your opinion on not necessarily the game, but just the success of the game as well as it coming at the time it came.
Oh, shucks. Well, we all know how Nintendo games are manufactured in a process to where when you open the case for the first couple seconds, they put off an addictive smell.
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
Anyways, no. That's now I'm reading Stag in the chat. Oh my god. Anyways, so to put this out there, I am not entertained by so it's not my cup of tea for Animal Crossing, but the cool part is I think it would be a game my wife would be interested in. So I can see the appeal of this game, and I'm pretty sure one thing that's helping it right now is look at the situation we have. People are quarantined at home. They have to be at home. Like everybody's at home more. No one's going outside doing anything. So they're all looking for something to do, and a lot of these people are rediscovering their Nintendo Switches and a game like this, and they're finding out how fun it can be. Like, how many people are rediscovering gaming period right now being at home?
Yeah, a lot of us. A lot of us. Backlog is getting tackled a little bit. Like, a lot of us are doing the same thing. So, yeah.
But no, when it comes to Nintendo, let's just put it this way. Nintendo has really great established first-party franchises. I've known that Animal Crossing has been one of those franchises that Nintendo's relied on, and I can see why. And I think it's really awesome. Nintendo, compared to where they were with the Wii U, compared to now, is doing absolutely amazing. And it's great to see. Like from what I've heard, this game is nothing more than a more childlike version of The Sims.
It's a lot more complicated than
I don't know nothing about it. If you want to educate me, go for it. Has anybody played the game?
I mean, I don't need to break it down, but it's like Minecraft. On the surface, it's real kid-like. It's real easy to look at. It's all the little nice looking furry animals. It's a lot going on in that game. I don't even need to break it down. I'd say go to YouTube, watch a video. There's a lot going on, but you're right. It's very Sims-like. You can kind of immerse yourself in it, create like this alternative lifestyle. You can kind of just lose yourself in it.
Is that what's going on? People are stuck at home, so they're now living a second life.
Well, no, I'm just saying some people may be doing that, but it's definitely that type of game you can immerse yourself fully. I mean, the time tracks. The time in the game is like day and night time in real life. Am I right about that, Luke? It works off of day and night, just like our day and night cycle in reality.
Dude, I would love to tell you. I have no idea.
Well, I chose Doom over Animal Crossing.
Well, I'm just saying. I thought maybe you would know, but I've seen a couple videos, and that's how it works. It's really a game where you gotta, invest a lot of your time in, like farm together in Stardew Valley. Had a baby and gave it HGH or something. Like, it was crazy. Like.
Okay, wait a minute. What the hell did you just say?
I understood that reference. Yeah, I understood that.
Absolutely. If you play those two games, you know exactly where I'm going with that.
I feel like I don't know how to process what was just said.
I don't know any other way to explain it. About as good as you're going to get. But go ahead, Centurion.
Oh, no. Wow. I don't even think I can make a comment after that. That right there. That is something you could not invent. What you just said, like, you could not just imagine that. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I don't know if were you finished there? I don't want to cut you off if you were done.
Yeah, sorry, man. You threw me off the rails.
Sorry about that, man. I apologize. So it looks like we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. Show ran a little bit over, but we're having such a good conversation.
Let's hear what Stagger has to say.
I don't have anything to say. Boo.
Oh my lord. Oh my lord.
That's all right. You skipped Fuzzy on the PS5 too, I think. So
no,
that's
I didn't.
Cool.
I didn't skip Fuzz on the PS5. Absolutely not. Absolutely.
You did skip me on this.
I'm a little rusty. So go ahead. No, Stag, if you have anything to say, I apologize. My
I really don't. I just want to disagree with Zinc on the whole demographic aspect of what the Switch is sold to and sold for. I mean, you can just scroll through what games third party are going on the Switch, and if it was specifically designed and sold to kids under 12 years old only, they wouldn't be putting games like The Witcher, Darksiders. I can go on. I'm Metro.
Dude, they're getting ready to put what, Borderlands and BioShock. I wouldn't want to spot child playing BioShock.
The Doom previous to this one is on the Switch. I mean, like that's totally not a 12-year-old and under game in my opinion. But I think it's sold to people who want portable gaming. It's and love those franchises and stuff. And like I tried Animal Crossing on the GameCube, and it was not my kind of game. But I was thinking as we were talking about this, and Better Man just mentioned it, Farm Together. I freaking loved that game. So maybe I would love Animal Crossing now. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I'm not willing to spend $60 to find out.
And it's gonna be $60 for the rest of the generation.
Yeah, somebody wants to buy it for me, I'll try it. But I mean, other than that, fuck that.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you. So sorry about that once again, man. But I guess
Okay.
now we can go ahead and wrap everything up, no problem. So once again, I appreciate everybody watching live. This was another amazing show. I will give everybody here an opportunity to let you guys know in the audience what's going on. I do want to tell you guys something else here. I have streamed recently on Mixer, so I made sure that information is in the description below. I know Luke streams as well on Mixer from time to time as well as Stag. So you guys go check, I guess, us three out. Follow all three of us if you have not already. We do greatly appreciate you guys hanging out with us this evening, I should say. You guys sitting in the house, spending a little bit of time with us. So let's just go ahead and start with Luke. Appreciate you once again, brother, for taking some time out. Thank you. You always add so much to the show, so much knowledge. You're such a balanced gamer, and I greatly appreciate that, brother. So let everybody know where they can find you. I know you had some big things since you've last been here happen on the Xbox expansion podcast, so maybe you can inform people of that as well.
Oh yeah, man! Thank you. I really appreciate coming out, man. It's awesome to get to hang out with your audience. You guys have an incredible community, so I really appreciate it. As you said, I do host a podcast weekly in the Xbox Expansion Pass podcast weekly. You can find it on all your podcast services. Most recently, I had on Rebecca Valentine to discuss her experiences in the gamerverse as a games journalist and what it means to be a games journalist, and I really enjoyed that. I have a couple interviews coming up, some of which I'm allowed to talk about, some not. Andrew Reiner from the Game Informer will be coming on, as will Motion Twin from the makers of Dead Cells. And then I have a few more developers and people that I can't share just yet. But it's a weekly show where I interview people from around the Gamerverse and have a good time chatting with them, and then also drop my thoughts in as well. So it's the Xbox Expansion Pass, and I'd love for any of your audience to check it out. Thank you for having me on, man.
Not a problem, man. You guys check him out, please. All his information is in the description below. Please go check him out. If you're a fan of the show, please watch his videos as well. I don't watch a ton of podcasts. His is one of the ones that I watch on a consistent basis. So do me a favor, go check out his show. The man has fantastic content. Once again, the link is below in the description. I think it's a link for everything. And also follow him on Twitter, because I'm sure that's where you can find all of the information as well. Once again, Luke, appreciate you, man. You're such a balanced. I love it, man. I love you. You're such a balanced guy. One of my favorite people in gaming to watch and listen to and just hear what he has to say. So I appreciate it, brother. My compadres here, Stag, what's going on with you? I know you're doing the streaming thing, been back on that more, consistently. You've pretty much been consistent, but been back doing that. So what's going on with you there? And let everybody know anything new happening or.
No, man, I just honestly during this, how everybody's locked down and not as many people are going to work and being at home, I am trying to stream a lot more. As a matter of fact, I've been, like I said earlier, I've been adjusting my schedule based on my own sleeping schedule now, because I can't freaking sleep anymore because anxiety is a wonderful thing. But yeah, I'm on every day almost, unless I'm too tired to stream. I'll be on maybe later tonight, but I was on earlier today. But I've been doing a lot of Bless Unleashed, still showing a lot of indie titles. I got a huge backlog of those from devs right now. So yeah, catch me out, whatever. Catch me at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Staggerilla.
Well, appreciate you, man. Super consistent. Go check out Stag. Once again, that information's in the description below. If you can't find it, just go to his Twitter. I'm sure you can find it all there as well. Appreciate you, Stag, every single week being here with us as well. So, Centurion, I know you got some videos you got cooking up, putting out more content now that you got more time. You've had some changes as well. I don't know if you want to reveal those changes, but that's completely up to you. Just let the people know what's going on with you, brother.
Well, for starters, I'm not cool enough like you guys to stream, so I'm just a lowly YouTube content creator, always looking to come out with another great video. You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Xbox Live at Centurion1307. And for those of you who do enjoy listening to me, you can find me on the Shop Podcast on Saturdays and TXR on Sundays. And yes, generally I don't like, I just try to, I'm not one of those guys that wants to hop on a microphone and be like, boo hoo. But yes, sadly, due to some scheduling conflicts, I'm no longer on Saltiest Gaming Podcast. That's now going to come out 4 p.m. Pacific, and I'm actually at work at that time. So, hey, I got to kind of do what I got to do. So sadly, I had to bow out on the Saltiest Gaming Podcast, but it was fun hanging out with Salty while I was there. Got to meet a lot of great people of the community and have some really in-depth conversations and some really awesome debates. That was where it was fun to be an Xbox fan and to get just like head on with some level-minded PlayStation fans.
Yeah, awesome, and I love it too. So we appreciate you here, brother, taking some time out, like you said, every single week for us. Glad you're gonna be here. You know what I'm saying? Continuing on the show. So we appreciate you so much, man. So glad to have you here. And last but
I
not least,
appreciate you letting me be here, man.
oh, not a problem, man. Not a problem at all. So last but not least, Barry Ross, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, man. What's cooking up with you, man? What's going on?
Just diving into some Gran Turismo. I got to figure out if I can stream it or if I can upload some of my clips to YouTube. Just kind of getting back into it. Realizing that I really need a wheel for it. Controller, using a controller to do racing games, especially on PlayStation now, just feels kind of weird for me.
Mhm.
But yeah, other than that, just kind of playing as many games as I can during this time frame. But
Mhm.
you can usually find me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere, PlayStation Network at fuzzy_Belvedere, or Xbox Live at fuzzy space Belvedere. So yeah, great show, guys. Glad to be a part of this.
Awesome. And last but not least, your host with the most, BTK Blam. That's everything. Xbox Live. Hit me on Twitter as well. That's all that information is below. We're doing some cool things here on the channel, and I just want to say I appreciate every single body that comes, checks out the channel, the podcast, whether it be the individual videos or just the podcast every Saturday. You guys make it all worth it. Essentially, we're doing everything for you. So once again, give me feedback throughout the week. My DMs are always open. Look out for that poll of the week. Every single Monday morning, or at some point Monday. Sometimes it's not always in the morning, but at some point, as well as the Shop Podcast here every single Saturday, 6 p.m. At this particular time is Pacific Standard Time, but in 6 months that'll change. So just be on the lookout at things we're going on here, as well as I do stream on Mixer as well from time to time. I don't have a schedule on that because I just started doing it, but from time to time I'll let you guys know and keep you guys updated. But I appreciate you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. We are out of here. Peace out.
Later.
Okay, let's go. Okay.